Hello from Kingfisher, Oklahoma. Today we're looking at 4 things from Deuteronomy 25 and 26. Listen, we've talked about this a few times, but the Old Testament is about pure justice. That's what the law brings, pure justice. And served quickly. It helps the society toe the mark. But hey, it's not our justice. It's not what we think is right. It's God's law that shows us what justice is and how to administer it. And if we would toe that mark of what God thinks, our society would be way better off. 2, in order to provide for women, we see a situation here. If a woman's husband dies without a male heir to continue the family name, the brother is supposed to come in the picture, marry this woman, raise up an heir in the name of that brother that died. And all that was that brother's now goes to this male heir. And the woman is taken care of. She's not on the street. She doesn't have to worry about what's happening to her. She's taken care of there. And if there isn't a brother that's close, it's closest male kin. So we actually see this take place in the book of Ruth, where it's not a brother, it's a relative, and actually several off from there. So we're going to look at that today. And number 3, again, God wants justice not only morally, but between people. He commands that we have honest weights and measures. You can't cheat your brother. You should be honest. You should be straightforward. There should be no cheating involved. So that's number 3. Number 4, he starts talking about first fruits. So the first fruits of this new land are going to go to God. Don't forget to do it. Here's how you do it. We're going to go over all of that. Don't forget, in the 3rd year that you're there, your tithe should go to take care of the priests, which were the Levites, the widows, the orphans, the strangers. It's to help your fellow man. And it says there's going to be a blessing in the land, milk and honey, if you do this. Meanwhile, here we are in America dismissing the tithe. Really? That's pretty straightforward. And Jesus in Matthew 23:23 says you should be tithing. So if you ever feel like you're not getting anywhere financially, that you're having some struggles, you might ask, are you tithing? You might be Job and God is trying to teach a lesson to other people around you. That's okay too. Hard situation, sorry about that. But if you're not tithing, could be a great source of your financial troubles. And here we are in America with American churches saying, oh, tithe, that's an Old Testament thing. We don't need to do that. You'll be fine. If you want to give, whatever amount's good. Just give your time. Excuse me, not what the scripture says. Okay? And now, not only that, but imagine in Israel, these guys come in and they don't tithe. God says he's not going to bless the land. Well, goodness, do you think our churches, communities, and nation are hurting because people are robbing God of the tithe? Now, just to be clear, the tithe is to God and not to your church or pastor. Now, you can use some of it to take care of your pastor or priest, but also widows, orphans, and strangers, just like it says. That tithe is supposed to go for God to minister for him. So, don't know what else to say about that, but hopefully you know your scriptures on tithing and you feel good reading those about what God is calling you to do. Well, let's check it out. Here's chapter 25 and 26. 25. If there's a controversy between men, and they come unto judgment, that the judges may judge them, then they shall justify the righteous and condemn the wicked. And it shall be, if the judge says, a wicked man be worthy to be beaten, that the judge shall cause him to lie down and to be beaten before his face. He gave him the justice, the judgment, and immediately lay down. Here's your punishment. Pow, I'm going to beat you right now. According to his fault by a certain number. 40 stripes he may give him, and not exceed, lest if he should exceed, and beat him above these with many stripes, then thy brother would seem vile unto thee. Thou shalt not muzzle the ox when he treadeth out the corn. Again, food. If the ox is working, don't muzzle him. He needs a little bit of sustenance to keep going. There's maybe a higher principle there. Verse 5, if brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go into her, and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her. It shall be that the firstborn which she beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead, that his name not be put out of Israel. And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go to the gate, to the elders, and say, my husband's brother refuseth to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. Then the elders of the city shall call him and speak unto him. And if he stand to do it, and say, I like not to take her, then shall the brother's wife come unto him in the presence of the elders, and loose his shoe from off his foot, spit in his face, and shall answer and say, so shall it be done to the man that will not build up his brother's house. Ooh. And his name shall be called in Israel the house of him who hath his shoe loosed. That's a big insult. Okay, you're refusing to do what God asked you to do. That's a big insult. When men strive together with one another, and the wife of one draweth near to deliver her husband out of the hand that smiteth him, and put her hand forth, and take him by the secrets, that's his manly equipment there, then thou shalt cut off her hand, thine eye shall not pity her. Thou shalt not have in thy bag diverse weights, a great and a small. Thou shalt not have in thy house diverse measures, great and small. But thou shalt have a perfect and just weight, and perfect and just measure shalt thou have, that thy days be lengthened in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. For all that do such things, and all that do unrighteously, are an abomination unto the Lord. Do it the right way, people. Remember what Amalek did unto thee by way when you were come forth out of Egypt, how he met thee by the way, and smote the hindmost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou wast faint and weary, and feared not God. Therefore it shall be, when the Lord thy God has given rest from all thine enemies round about, in the land which the Lord giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Thou shalt not forget it. Chapter 26. And it shall be, when thou art come into the land of the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance, and possessed it, and dwellest therein, that thou shalt take the first of all thy fruit of the earth, which thou shalt bring of the land, and put it, that the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shall put it in a basket, and shall go into the place the Lord thy God shall choose to put his name there. And thou shalt go unto the priest that shall be in those days, and say to him, I profess this day unto the Lord thy God, that I am come unto the country which the Lord sware to our fathers for to give us. And the priest shall take the basket out of his hand, and set it down on the altar before the Lord thy God. And thou shalt speak and say, before the Lord thy God, a Syrian ready to perish was my father. And he went down into Egypt, and sojourned there with a few, and came a nation thereof, great, mighty, and populous. And the Egyptians entreated us, and afflicted us, and laid upon us hard bondage. And when we cried out to the Lord our fathers, and the Lord heard our voice, and looked on our affliction, and our labor, and our oppression, and the Lord brought us forth out of Egypt with a mighty hand, and with an outstretched arm, and with great terribleness, and signs, and with wonders. And he hath brought us into this place, and hath given us a land, even a land that floweth with milk and honey. And now, behold, I have brought the first fruits of the land which thou, O Lord, hast given me. And thou shalt set it before the Lord thy God, and worship before the Lord thy God. And thou shalt rejoice in every good thing which the Lord thy God has given thee, and into thy house, thou and the Levite and the stranger among you. So they remember the story by telling it, and then they're obedient by giving the first fruits. And when thou hast made an end of tithing, all the tithes of thine increase, the third year, which is the year of tithing, and hast given it unto the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, that they may eat within thy gates and be filled. then thou shalt say before the Lord thy God, I have brought away the hallowed things out of my house, and also have given them unto the Levite, and to the stranger, and to the fatherless, and to the widow, according to all thy commandments which thou hast commanded me. I have not transgressed thy commandments, neither have I forgotten them. I have not eaten thereof in my mourning, neither have I taken away aught thereof for any unclean use, nor given aught thereof for the dead. But I have hearkened to the voice of the Lord my God, and have done according to all that thou hast commanded me. Look down from thy holy habitation from heaven, and bless thy people Israel, and the land which thou hast given us, and thou swearest unto thy fathers, a land that floweth with milk and honey. So just reminding God of his promises. This day the Lord thy God hath commanded thee to do the statutes and judgments. Thou shalt therefore keep and do them with all thine heart and with all thy soul. And thou hast avouched the Lord this day to be thy God, and walk in his ways, and keep his statutes, and his commandments, and his judgments, and to hearken unto his voice. And the Lord hath avouched thee this day to be his peculiar people. That means particular. And he hath promised thee that thou shouldst keep all his commandments, and make thee high above all the nations which he hath made in praise, and in name, and in honor. And thou mayest be a holy people unto the Lord thy God, as he has spoken. So he promised he's going to bless them. He's going to set them above all the other nations if they do what he asks. And the same for you. You can receive those blessings from God, not necessarily financial, but God can set you up in life as a blessing if you follow what he says. Well, we're plunging right ahead. Catch you next time.